I know Team Brazil came second in the poll I put out the other day, but I just want to do a little more research on them first to make sure I get everything right. So instead, today I have the pleasure of discussing who makes Team Norway for the Overwatch World Cup 2019, so I can round out all the nations from Scandinavia, having already covered Finland, Sweden and Denmark. Although they've never managed to reach the finals at BlizzCon, Norway, like Denmark, have shown a steady improvement in their qualifier performances over the last 3 years, progressing from an early exit in 2016 to 2 consecutive 4th place finishes in 2017 and 2018. Last year, the side almost managing to overcome Brazil to 3rd in a tightly fought 5-map affair, but put many of their players on the radar of contenders' orgs. Their committee this year has seen a couple of changes, with former player Aiko now stepping up to be the general manager of the side, whilst this year, Lama was voted in as community lead, but MKL stays on as coach for the team, who've been holding tryouts and in-house scrims which they've been streaming. And it's from a combination of both these and the contenders' knowledge I have of some of the players that I primarily base my choices for a 7-man roster on. So of course, apologies if I've missed anyone out, and let me know down in the comments below if I have. We should all know the drill by now as we start at the main tank position, which will be one of the few locked-in players for Team Norway this year, as it's clearly got to go to Decod of NA Contenders Team Triumph. He's been a member of the national side for the past 2 years, and strong performances from him there on Winston and Rhine have earned him opportunities in North American contenders scene. First with Last Nate's Leftovers in 2018, now recently with Triumph, who's helped to a strong and competitive start to this recent 2019 season, and put in a solid display last night in his match against Revival. Equally, in the in-the-house scrims I watched, he proved himself to be a really important member of his side, with some nice showings on Hammond, as well as showing his proficiency across all of the main tank heroes. So combine his quality, experience, and a synergy that you will have with the upcoming members of the side, he appears to be the obvious choice. That said, I do think others trialling for this side this year put in some impressive displays as well, and one name I'd mention would be Bacon Thief, who I thought in the head-to-head with Decod left a very good impression, and definitely showed his quality and potential moving forward. Flex Tank is a tougher decision to determine. Tricky was a Norwegian representative in 2018, and he was involved in the earlier stages of the tryout process. That said, I've struggled to find any information on his play outside of a national setup, and he wasn't present for the most recent in-house scrims, but I don't know whether that was just because he couldn't make it, or if it's because he's not going to be chosen. Consequently, I just don't think I've seen enough of him recently to give him a fair and balanced opinion on his play, so I'd opt for another player here, but let me know if you disagree. Therefore, I think the best 2 candidates that I've seen were Explorer and Dooney. Both look very comfortable in D.Va, with effective pressure and peel, with Explorer particularly good at getting kills by catching players off on their own, but I'd just edge my final decision towards Dooney. I just got the impression that in the clutch moments he delivered the goods more often, and his Hog was incredibly impressive with hook after hook, with it dominating the final round of Aces towards the end of the in-house scrims. But as with a lot of positions, neither choice would be a bad one from the coaching staff. Support will see the most change for Team Norway this season, with both of their players from last year not playing this year, with Aiko transitioning to general manager, as I already said, whilst IPN has left Overwatch and gone on to compete in Apex Legends. I want to start with the flex support spot, as it's the one that I'm happier with my decision for. The top 2 candidates here, in my eyes, were Danib and Henki, who both put on insightful displays in the in-house scrims, culminating their inclusion in the final casters versus coaches match. Danib was particularly strong and impactful on Moira and Zenyatta, getting a lot of value out of Coalescence and Transcendence, whilst also showing off his skill on Ana. Henki, meanwhile, put in his best displays on Ana and Baptiste, with so many clutch sleep darts, particularly onto Genjis trying to use their blade. Both of these players I could see making the final team, with neither definitively outplaying the other, but given the way that the meta is currently trending, I'd lean towards picking Henki, whose Ana just looked a tad more refined, while showing some effective use of Baptiste, but I guess that could change depending upon how a likely 2-2-2 roll-up shakes up the meta, and whether it's a hero like Zen or Ana that's preferred in the meta. The main support position, however, is one that I'll be honest and say that I don't know where to turn to. With everyone competing in this position playing well, no one stood out as a must pick, but my attention in the end would look towards the 2 picks in the casters versus coaches match, and therefore Mimio and Get Comboed. Both were effective members of their sides, with some nice ultimate timings with Sound Barrier on Lucio, and I think either would be a good choice here, but in the end I think I'd pick Mimio for this pair, as he did appear to have the better mercy of the 2, with an effective combination of healing and reses, and if 2-2-2 does come in, I'd want the better mercy player, given that she's going to be played more often. Although again, this is really a 50-50 decision. Of course, as I come to select my 3 DPS options for Team Norway, there's one player who is another definite lock, and probably the most well-known player from Norway, Spectral. Take his performance in isolation throughout the Norwegian trials and in-house scrims, and he was phenomenal, an absolute standout of a DPS position, with it feeling like he was carrying his teams at times, putting in brilliant displays on a variety of heroes like Hanzo and Sombra, as well as his signature Ashe, which honestly is one of the best in the world in my opinion. That's before you even take into account his performances of this event that he's been a part of every year from 2016, under the previous handle of OnlyGod, from which he became a key member of the Angry Titans and their success from 2018 to 2019, before now being recently picked up by Grunto Esports over in North America, making him one of the most experienced members on this roster, and with previous synergy to Decod and others that I'll be mentioning shortly, he's a slam dunk guarantee for the side this year. To accompany Spectral, I would like to look at someone like Yikids, but unfortunately he's only 15, and with the new rules meaning you have to be 18 or over to compete, he's ineligible. Therefore, perhaps the best next place to start is with the other two players from last year's Norwegian side. Firstly, let's start with Track. He also put on an impressive display during these streams, particularly when playing Genji, and looks really good together again in a DPS partnership alongside Spectral, so for that reason, he'd be my number 2 option. Waster, meanwhile, formerly known as Frost, was the other DPS option for Norway in 2018, and again put on a decent display with some nice plays, even though he had to go head to head against Spectral, and was on the losing end of that duel a lot of the time. But with his synergy and experience advantage, I'd probably go with him again. But I'd give mention to Smug, who played his way through the trials and has performed very impressively, and as such I could see him potentially sneaking into this 3rd spot, given the team has shown a willingness in the past to promote promising talent to the side, even if they aren't the most experienced, even though his hero pool overlaps quite a lot with Track and Spectral. But let me know who you guys would choose, and again if I've missed anyone out crucially. So to just recap, my 7-man squad for Team Norway would be Decod at main tank, Dooney at flex tank, Henki at flex support, Mimio at main support, and then Spectral, Track, and Waster as my DPS triplet. And on paper, in the right meta, this is a very dangerous team that could cause significant splash should Decod and Spectral perform to their potential. And I don't think going for the other members I've mentioned, but I didn't include, would negatively affect the side, with a few tough choices that the coaches will have to make. And with that, we reach the end of my Team Norway Overwatch World Cup video, and I'd like to thank you for watching. More 2019 Overwatch World Cup videos are on the way, so if you enjoyed and don't want to miss out, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter for this continuing Overwatch World Cup coverage and content, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.